So the INCH project INCH stands for Initiative for New Culture of Health. And what we're trying to do is establish a new culture of health where people began having a sustaining lifestyle change. Currently, a lot of people will want to try new dieting and exercise habits, but they don't last. And so what we're trying to do is figure out a way how we can get everybody on board, kind of create this new environment, a supportive environment that encourages people to continue to make their life changes. It's not just something you decide to change once and then it's done. It's a continual lifestyle. It's a continual everyday make the right choice, make the healthier choice. And so we're planning on seeing how we can create this type of healthy environment.
There'll be people signing up, and we begin just in Brookings here. People can sign up for it, and they can form their own groups of anywhere from size 2 to 8, or if they need us to, we can just randomly assign them to a group, preferably like in the company that they work at or whatever they would prefer. And then they just are required to work out 3 times a week for 30 minutes, just be active, and also be social for an hour and a half, because that socializing is a positive reinforcer for the hard work you're putting in for the activity. And we all know, like we're saying, that at the beginning of a workout regimen and trying to become active and trying to become healthier, it's really difficult to get motivated on your own. So you have this group here that's supporting you. That's, if you're feeling down one day and don't want to work out, someone else is going to push you and vice versa. And the hope is with this being a 6-month program, that at the end, it's just become a habit that you can continue to do it on your own, or you can continue to do it as in a group if you would prefer.
Right now, what we're going to see is just what works. What were the components in a group that made them successful? And we're looking at different psychological traits or factors. I mean, in personalities and in like marriages and such, there's definitely trends in personality traits. The more similar people are with each other, the more they like each other, the more they get along. And that's true for like significant others and friends. And so what we're going to do is we're just having groups form together and then see out of these groups that were the most successful, what was the composition of these personality traits? Were they most similar or dissimilar? What led to the most success?
Best case scenario is that this is just a pilot study like we plan. And because as we mentioned right away, we're just randomly assigning groups. We're not trying to make any assumptions about what size of group matters, whether mixed gendered matters, whether different psychological factors matter. But after this initial study, we could start going, well, hey, there's something interesting going on here. There's a correlation between X and Y. And then hopefully we could do like a follow-up to it where we actually group people based on those factors, do a random controlled group and start to see if there really is something to that. And that would be the continuation of this. But if someone's like, I want to participate, but I don't necessarily have someone, or if it's a group of 2 and they want a couple more people, we'll go ahead and just assign them randomly and based on factors, where they work, their schedules, those type of factors.
Yeah, and as far as group formation goes, initially it'll just kind of be random to see, okay, let's just make it happen, what will happen, and then from that we will see, okay, what was the most successful, and then we knew which groups worked, which groups did not work, and then eventually we could just say, okay, sign up, and then we'll select you to a group that would be successful.
Yeah, like there's cool little things like that DANVA 2 that we were talking about that measures emotional intelligence. It a lot of times scores are lower for people, and if they get certain problems wrong on there, it can be like indicative of like depression. So for example, you probably wouldn't want to put an entire group of depressed people. We'd want to kind of sporadically spread them out, and hopefully through both the exercise and the socialization, that would improve. We're going to do post hoc statistical analysis where you can look at, there's 2 big factors that we're looking at. We want to see compliance, the compliance rate, like the number of weeks that people successfully were active. Secondly, we want to look at the dropout rate, how many people actually completed the entire thing. And using those 2, we'll then go back and go, well, this group had a higher success rate than the other group. Now, what was the reason for that? And we're having them take various personality surveys as well as an emotional intelligence survey. And afterwards, see, was there a certain group composition that led to a higher rate of success? Because if that's the case, you could mix and match groups later on that maximizes the number of successful groups.
So the whole thing of how this whole project even began was I had been invited to this documentary called Escape Fire, and I went there and the Holmes were there too, and Dr. Holmes himself spoke at the end of the documentary. And this whole documentary was just talking about the healthcare system in America, just how it's like Americans spend 3.5 times more on the healthcare than any other country, and yet our life expectancy is far below average. And that 7 out of 10 deaths, all deaths, are related to like a preventable disease. And so when I was looking at this, and when I was looking at these statistics, it was just shocking that it's not necessarily the healthcare system, it's kind of our society as a whole that is unhealthy, and it's leading to all these issues. And so I was thinking, well, how do we fix this, or what is the solution to this? And the solution would be to try to get the society, like everybody, together, up and moving around and eating more healthy. And I was kind of thinking, well, how the heck do I do that? When I was thinking about people that actually worked out and who were pretty diligent in keeping up with their working out habits, it seemed to be that they had a group of people that they worked out with. What if we applied this same type of positive peer pressure and got a whole bunch of people, grouped together based on these psychology traits where they would be naturally friends with each other, and they would just form these groups of peer pressure with each other. And so then I thought, let's do that. So then I told the Holmes about it, and they just loved it. And so then I had asked Aaron Peterson here for some help, and that's kind of where the whole thing started to take off.
Well, I feel very fortunate that he did ask me. Right now I'm more or less managing the whole thing. We're having to deal with multiple different parties, between people that have expertise in applied psychology, web development, working with the Holmes and trying to get funding for it, and trying to get all these pieces to fall in the right place to actually launch this project has been quite the task.
So we're trying to develop ways we can monitor change in health of the participants, and one of those ways is to measure glycemic hemoglobin levels, and that's kind of a more stable or better indicator of individuals at risk for diabetes. You can measure glucose levels, or the blood sugar levels. Unfortunately, though, that really fluctuates throughout the day, and it's just depends on if you've eaten or not eaten. And so measuring these glycemic hemoglobin levels is a little bit better indicator of individuals who have a harder time maintaining their blood sugar levels. We would have to have a health screening, and a health professional would have to take their blood and be able to do a test on it.
But they will be able to see the data on the website. It will be put into a secure database that only they can see. We're doing everything in our power to make it as simple as possible for people to do it, from the login system that they can just log in using a Facebook, Google, Yahoo account. It's just going to be a simple drop-down menu. The website's going to be as uncluttered as possible. And hopefully this next spring we'll actually develop a native app for iOS and Android, just to give them one more way that they can very easily just click, I worked out.
Online, what they would do is they would fill in basic information about themselves, as well as do these psychology type tests, like their personality tests and their emotional IQ test. And then we would also then have a second type of screening, the health screening, where they'd go in and we would measure stuff on them.
Currently, the website, we're developing different tools that it's basically running these pop-ups, for lack of a better word, using JavaScript, and they'll come in and they'll just be like a display like, hey, you've worked out 4 weeks in a row, nice job, or click here to see the changes, after your 3-month checkup, click here to see the changes over it, and there'll be a nice chart showing them the changes. And that's just a function call that we'd have to develop. For any like business here in town that wants to have their employees sign up, they can certainly go to the website and learn more about it. The website's inchproject.com.
I just really want to add, this is not necessarily like a health program as much as it is a tool to help people change their lifestyle to be something more healthy, be able to get more involved in their community, be able to make more friendships, be able to start exercising more, eating more healthily. I mean, that's kind of the more broader objective of this whole project.
All we care about is that it's 30 minutes 3 times a week. I mean, any sort of activity you want to do.
Yep.
Because it's going to vary. I mean, some people are going to just be able to walk. Some people are going to like biking. I mean, it's going to be interesting. It's going to change with the season.
And that they do have some sort of socialization. We've given them the opportunity to be able to socialize with their teammates, but at the same time, it's just really important that they socialize at least like an hour and a half with somebody, family or other friends, because we were reading this article, they did this study, it was a huge amount of people, and they found that loneliness is as detrimental to your health as smoking 60 cigarettes a day, alcoholism, not exercising, that it's just as bad as for your health. And that loneliness is on the rise in this country, and it just is continually getting higher. And so this program, would help try to combat against that, get people together and get out there and make friends, and be a little less lonely. We're still trying to figure out a way, because I would really like to see a way that the group holds each other accountable, really how this will be effective is if it's not the individual themselves that have to hold themselves accountable. It's more that they have to rely on their group members. Everybody as a team that holds each other accountable.